Parliament.
So that is one of the
walking
political
into the House right now.
This.
We are looking forward to his verdict because we're wondering, would he, Evans has predicted, would he respect the Supreme Court's ruling and allow these 4 MPs to perform their duty, hence the NPP side of the House retains the majority? Or would he say, as a result of this new legal battle I am going to file, my initial verdict stands, which means that the NDC side in the House holds the majority? Evans, finalize on your point.
No, I mean, so that's back to the point about implication politically. You cannot take what is happening away from the context of the election. It's all about the elections on December 7th. If this was happening 3 years ago, it would have the same bite and spice as it has today. I mean, it would. But now you can't see ground. And everybody.
In fact, 3 years ago, we would have gone for elections in these constituencies.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam.
So is it the case that the former minority leader, Harun Idris, is trying to sort of save his face because he triggered all this with that statement?
I think you made the point at the beginning. That's part of the reason why he has.
Yeah, I mean,
that point.
That's it's part of it. But let me just make a point. The other point I was making, I was talking about the fact that when it comes to amendments would have to be assented to by the president. Now, if you're repealing
the Speaker
a tax,
of Parliament is about
to tax,
it
must be introduced by the
let me
executive.
come in at this point. He's about to address the House. Let's listen in.
Honorable members, may we rise and submit ourselves to God in prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of government, this land and people may be well and truly served, and our good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service, and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Bless the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality. Inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, we will take item 3 on the order paper. Honorable members, National Pledge. Pursuant to Order 69, we shall proceed to recite the National Pledge. I promise on my honor to be faithful and not honor my motherland. I pledge myself with all my Thank you so much. Please resume your seats. Honorable members, I want to vary the order of business, and we will take next item 6. Item 6 on the order paper, which is correction of votes and proceedings and official report. We shall commence with the correction of the votes and proceedings of the third sitting dated Thursday, 17th October 2024. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Yes, honorable member.
Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, item number 5 on page 9. Mr. Speaker, the statement made by the Honorable Minority, the Honorable Atufosin, Mr. Speaker, was in respect of the fact that 4 members of Parliament whose names have been listed have breached Article 97(1)(g) and H. It was not a mere allegation, Mr. Speaker. So the appearance of who were alleged to have been in breach, I believe that it does not reflect the true statement made by the member, because it was based on the statement that the Speaker proceeded to make to give information that you gave to the House. The Speaker further, in indicating the names of the honorable members so named, their current situations and circumstances were clearly stated in the motion paper, so that, for instance, the first name, Peter Yaokwachi Aka, the NDC member for Amenfi Central, and now an independent candidate. Mr. Speaker, so the statement contained these clear facts, and therefore it's important that they reflect in the proceedings as captured for purposes of correction. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, Honorable Member for Medina.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I also want to draw your attention to the same item, the paragraph 5, the ending statement, which is majority caucus in inverted commas. Mr. Speaker, I think the true intention will be reflected there when we say that the minority caucus staged a walkout instead of a majority caucus in inverted commas. So if the correction can be made to reflect what was there. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable Member Bolsa Saf. Is that okay? Yes, from the distance I can't see. Honorable Member for, you are all right? Thank you, thank you. Table office, kindly take note of the comments made by the members. Please cross-check from the records and capture what is on the record of the House. Please, page 10. Page 11. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the third sitting, dated Thursday, 17th October 2024, are adopted as the true record of proceedings. Honorable members, I don't have a copy of any of the official reports. So we'll proceed now to item 5, formal communication by the Speaker. Honorable members, as you may recall, on Thursday, I informed the House, pursuant to Standing Order 18 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, on the occurrence of vacancies in the House in relation to 4 honorable members. Yesterday, I received a process from the Supreme Court, which is a ruling from the Supreme Court pursuant to an ex parte application directing Parliament to recognize and allow the 4 affected members of Parliament to duly represent their constituents and conduct full scope of duties of their offices as members of Parliament, pending the final determination of a suit filed by Honorable Alexander Afenyo Markin. By Article 102 of the Constitution, 1992, and Order 64.1 of the Standing Orders of Parliament, I note that we currently have a quorum to transact business, but not to take decisions. I want to read the said Article 102 of the Constitution. It reads, "A quorum of Parliament, apart from the person presiding, shall be 1/3 of all the members of Parliament." As presently constituted, the numbers definitely is far above 1/3 of the members of Parliament. But by Article 104, the numbers are not sufficient for us to take decisions. And I'll quote Article 104. Article 104(1) says, "Except as otherwise provided in this Constitution, matters in Parliament shall be determined by the votes of the majority of members present and voting, with at least half of all the members of Parliament present." Honorable members, we don't have at least half of all the members of Parliament present. Consequently, in view of the current circumstances, the fact that there is a question on the composition and constitution of Parliament, and having regard to the public interest and the exigencies of the state of affairs in Parliament, I will proceed to, in accordance with Standing Orders 59, adjourn the House indefinitely. That is sine die. I want to quote Standing Orders 59(1). It says, "The Speaker may, in consultation with leadership, suspend a meeting of the House indefinitely or for a period determined by the Speaker, having regard to the public interest and the exigencies of the state of affairs in the country." Honorable members, I have consulted leadership, and I am exercising my discretion to decide to suspend the meeting of the House indefinitely. The House is accordingly adjourned sine die.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin there, as you heard him, taking that unprecedented decision to indefinitely adjourn Parliament because of the legal controversies that currently exist. Of course, it did not go into a lot of details. He did not say much, but you would clearly know that the Speaker is taking this decision because of the Supreme Court staying his decision up until the final determination of this case. The Speaker of Parliament has done what he has done before, indefinitely adjourning proceedings in Parliament by only informing the House that the Supreme Court has served him with a document. That will mean that so many crucial government business, bills, in fact, the votes on account have all with this, because the Speaker of Parliament is adjourning proceedings up until the end of everything. Pretty shortly, we will get out. And see if we can get some reactions from the NDC MPs who really seem jubilant and excited about this new decision that has been taken by the Speaker of Parliament to actually suspend this meeting of Parliament, which was ordinarily the last meeting of the House. he has adjourned it indefinitely, and the NDC MPs are now filing out, and we will try and get some of them to gauge what exactly they will be doing, because that will mean a lot of key business on the side of government will suffer and will be on hold up until this is done.
Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kwekwa Asante will take you back to get reaction from members of Parliament. Update for you is that the Speaker of Parliament has adjourned the House indefinitely. He quoted Article 102, Order 64(1) of the 1992 Constitution. He says that they currently have quorum to transact business, but they do not have enough to take decision. And I'll read the article for you. It says, a quorum of Parliament, apart from the person presiding, shall be 1/3 of all the members of Parliament. And Evans, you raised that point before we went on that break to Parliament. What does this mean moving forward?
I mean, a few things. It's very interesting indeed. For me, I think the most important implication of this is that the Speaker has deferred to the Supreme Court, but also on the very contentious subject of whether the seats of the 4 MPs have been vacated or not. He's actually said, without actually saying it, that he hasn't vacated it until the Supreme Court decides. Because if you go back to the article he reads in the Constitution, 104, that last line there, 104.1, says clearly, half of all members of Parliament, half of that, if you do the arithmetic, you need to then look at 275 members of Parliament. Half of that will be definitely 138, of course, because
you see, Evans, I mean, that point that you make is very true. But what the Speaker doesn't tell us is how many members are in Parliament currently.
Yeah.
So
but the members in Parliament currently can only have a quorum to do.
That is, if we assume that all 136 minority MPs were there. We don't know the number.
But you only need 92.
92. But to take a decision, I'm just making a point. That the difficulty here is that, and why I say the Speaker has been very clever with this, the difficulty here is that all of us seated here do not know, for instance, how many members of the NDC group or caucus.
But does it matter?
It matters because in taking a decision,
concerns about
you have to. But this is also the other.
No, but I don't think it matters.
Hold on. I'm making a point. You would understand. Just give me some 5 minutes.
Okay.
You would understand something. They don't put numbers out. The moment you don't put numbers out, I ask myself, is it the case that there are probably 130 members of Parliament, which under the circumstances, say 270, you need 135. I do not know.
Let's go now. Kwekwa Asante speaking to Kesalatu Forsen. Let's listen in.
You are not going to get a budget to run the country in the first 3 months.
We can come back in December and get that to approve it. So maybe after the elections, we can come back to have it done. There's no timeline. Okay, the most important thing is that the estimate in advance of appropriations must be passed before 1st of January. So clearly we can come back anytime after the elections to get it approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader.
Thank you.
So you see that the NDC leaders now leaving. They say that they are satisfied with the actions that have been taken by the Speaker. I've been asking them specifically about the vote on accounts and whether or not that will affect them. They do seem that is the course of action that they like and that they want it to happen. I've just spoken with the minority leader who says that if they have to come in December and come and do a vote on account for a future NDC government, and they are very confident that they are going to win, they will do so. Let me speak to the deputy. I don't know. I don't even know to call you deputy majority leader or deputy minority leader, but that is the situation. Are you in agreement with the Speaker's decision to adjourn the House indefinitely like this?
Oh, clearly, I think the Speaker, as a statesman and as a matured, seasoned politician and father, one of the senior citizens of the country, this is the right way to go. If this decision has not happened that way, our colleagues on the other side today said that the Speaker called the two sides of the leadership and told us that he foresaw this clash when he received a letter from a decision from the Supreme Court. And he heard people saying that Ghanaians siding together with either side. And because of that, he doesn't want chaos in the room. So he's adjourning the House sine die so that the House will go and engage. Because even in his conclave, the two sides of the leadership could not agree. If you, the leadership, you can't even agree, then how much more your supporters who are the members of parliament? So based on that, I'm going to adjourn the House sine die, go back, we will go and consult. We will engage the National House of Chiefs, we will engage the Peace Council, we will engage religious leaders, we will engage civil society organizations, and when we both agree, so that there will be no chaos in the House so that he can. And this is why he said that. He said sitting in either side of the House is a game of numbers. And our brothers on the other side said, if the Speaker doesn't tell the current majority to move to the other side, they will not sit in the House. They will not sit on the floor. They will prefer to go and sit in their offices and listen to the Speaker's communique. And that is why they also walk out. This is what prevailed yesterday.
Okay. Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, we'll see you later today on PM Express as usual, and then we'll have a conversation. So that is Ahmed Ibrahim giving us an indication of what might have happened in the Speaker's conclave. Honorable Kwabena Donkor is a very senior member of Parliament. Honorable Kwabena Donkor, you are at the end of your career in Parliament, and all these things are happening. Did you foresee that this was going to happen and this later decision taken by the Speaker?
Yes, I foresaw it. Remember, the 8th Parliament was bathed in confusion because of the tightness of the numbers, 137, with one independent member. And therefore, immediately the Electoral Commission called for filing. I foresaw this situation. Parliament acts on precedent. The precedent said by the 7th Parliament was that immediately you file on the tickets of another party or as an independent member, you immediately forgo your seat. And so when we started the filing process, we knew this was going to come. What surprises me most is the haste with which the Supreme Court took. The filing by the former majority leader, and in less than 24 hours of filing, the Supreme Court had met and taken a decision. And especially on ex parte would normally come on notice. So when the Supreme Court takes a political decision, it creates this sort of situation. With the tightness of numbers, this was bound to happen once candidates had filed.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwabena Donkor. So the latest situation now, almost all the MPs walking out of the makeshift chamber of parliament here at the conference center and going back to the Job 600 where their offices are. Of course, the big news now is that the Speaker of Parliament has adjourned Parliament indefinitely. That means that between now and when they're able to reach an agreement and come back, some key government businesses are just not going to go ahead. And in particular, one that is of concern to a lot of people is the vote on accounts. That is the first quarter budget of next year. Because it's an election year, you don't present a full budget. That first quarter budget is also in limbo now until they agree. I spoke with the NDC caucus leader, Dr. Castle Atofos, who says, well, the House can come back in December and come and take it briefly and then go back on their break. These are really unprecedented times. The Speaker of Parliament really shocking many people with this new decision that he has taken not to actually, as it were, take any decision. He also did not announce, the only thing he did, I should say, was to announce that he had indeed been served with the documents by the Supreme Court that ruled that his decision on the 4 MPs have been stayed. That clearly means that the Speaker of Parliament acknowledges that. And so his decision has now been stayed. But because of the political stalemate that is potentially going to be caused without a resolution of both sides taking that entrenched position, the Speaker of Parliament really saying that he has been left with no other choice but to indefinitely suspend Parliament. And so there's no end in sight. Parliament is not going to sit for many, many more weeks to come up until we get a clear communication from the Speaker of Parliament that he is now going to recall Parliament. So Faustina Evans and the team back in studio. The Speaker of Parliament has done what many did not expect him to do. He has suspended Parliament indefinitely, with both sides still insisting they are the majority. But obviously, having now acknowledged that ruling by the Supreme Court, one will be safe to say that the NPP have gone back into their majority status, but the House is now suspended indefinitely, and we do not know when the House will resume.
Thank you, Kwekwa Asante. We're back here in the studio, and we have on our phone lines Dr. Rashid Rahman. He's Executive Director of Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. He joins us live with just brief reactions on this. The Speaker has adjourned the House indefinitely. He cites Article 102 of the Constitution. He says they have enough numbers to transact business because they have quorum. But unfortunately, they cannot take decisions. What's your thoughts about how things played out in Parliament today?
I think that is what some of us expected. I think this morning I did speak on your program, and Benjamin asked if I was to advise the Speaker, what would I say? And I said I would advise the Speaker to go into the House and read this one paragraph statement. Say, you know, based on all the things that are happening, there is no clarity. Of course, the Speaker did not say that. I think he relied on clear constitutional provisions, and for the avoidance of any doubt, he read those out just so that nobody runs to the court again to accuse him of doing something that was unconstitutional. And then he came to the conclusion. Of course, he cited the mood of the nation, the public interest nature of this, and I thought that was a classic kind of statesman approach to dealing with this matter. So we are back to it. Maybe by the time Parliament resumes, tempest would have calmed down. Our elders, if we have any left in this country, would have done what they should have done before now. And then maybe some conversation among the three branches of government, which I still think is necessary.
Rashid, let me come in at this point, because the Speaker agreed with Francis Xavier Soso on the floor that they should correct the records to reflect that on Thursday, when the NPP group walked out, they were the minority. That the Speaker today did not actually speak on the substantive issue as to who is majority or who is minority. In fact, he doesn't say anything about the NDC group sitting in the majority seat in Parliament. What's your thoughts about that?
Well, I think, honestly, I mean, the Speaker just avoided anything that could be misinterpreted and could plunge our country into serious difficulties. All they did was they corrected the votes and proceedings. Any errors based on what transpired in the House, he told the table office to take note of that. He steered clear from going back to the issue that is in contention. And my reading of it is, I understand he met the Peace Council, he met Council of State, and so on and so forth. Perhaps maybe that was what was agreed. At the end of the day, the interest of the nation, our nation, I think is more important than the interest of the NDC or the MPP. So I think he had the interest of the nation and left the NDC and the MPP to deal with their egos in terms of who is majority and who is minority.
Dr. Rashid Rahman, he's Executive Director for Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Thank you for your time here on the Joy News channel. Let me come into the studio, come into you, Winston Amoah.
Yes, so I was making the point that the Speaker didn't tell us how many MPs were actually there. And so we don't know, for instance.
Well, I'm sure the work on the sounds, I apologize there for the sound you're hearing, our audience on all our platforms. The work on that and take that off. Winston, you were just giving us...
Yes, so I'm saying that what the Speaker did not tell us, when he says, for instance, that we don't have the numbers to take a decision, he didn't tell us how many members were there.
Okay.
So if the Speaker had said, for instance, because of my earlier ruling, we need this number of members of Parliament, and we don't have them, so I'm saying that this is it. But this is the other point. We also do not know So the NPP members who went into Parliament initially, when they went into Parliament, did they sign, for instance, they had come into Parliament? Mind you, when the minority, the speakers had earlier said in 2022, Raymond and Evans, you remember, during the passage of the e-levy, he said that if you come to Parliament and you step out, it doesn't mean that there is no quorum to take a decision. And so, when it got to the passage of the e-levy, there were 137 members of Parliament. Technically speaking, because there were 275 members of Parliament, you needed how many members of Parliament? You needed 138, but that was not the point. But that in itself is at variance with the Speaker's earlier rulings. But this is it for me. The Speaker has been very clever. The admission that he has been served would get the NPP to feel, okay, it means we're the majority. He doesn't put a number to it.
But his failure to also ensure that the minority, which is the NDC as at that time, leaves the majority seat is also...
Well, so he also says, table office, look at it and find out, listen to the Speaker carefully, and find out the true events and act accordingly. So the table office will check, compared to everything he said, and act accordingly. As it stands now, you can go argue amongst yourselves, but at least for now, there would be some calm. Yes, there will be some calm. The question then would arise. So what happens to government business? What happens to the appropriation in advance and all of that? Well, that's something you can come back and have it passed. But as it stands now, if there's a serious need for government business, I'm sure that they can engage, people can call Parliament back, they can write to the Speaker. If as at that time there's been a resolution of this issue, because the Speaker says he has been served. The Supreme Court, we heard, directed that they should all file their responses to this
7 days.
In 7 days. Let's see how it goes.
The Speaker agrees he has been served, but his lawyers have also triggered another suit.
There are a few additional angles to this. First, the most contentious subject is whether he's vacated the seats or not, for me.
He didn't pronounce on that.
He didn't pronounce on that. But there is an answer implied in the way he approached this. Because it is my view that Article 108, 104 that he quoted.
102, actually.
104 that he quoted, that talks about, I mean, he quoted that too, but precisely 104.
Okay.
That talks about to take decisions in Parliament, you need at least half of all MPs to get a decision, right? I mean, the majority of all members present and voting, but also half of all members of Parliament. That second part is what I'm focusing on. If he quotes that, if you use that, it is my contention that if he's vacated the seats and is going by that original decision, that reduces the number of MPs to 271.
Yes.
And not 275. If you do the maths of that, at least half of all MPs should bring you to 135.5.
136.
136, of course. If you do 136, then you have, the NDC side should have that number. I say should. Whether or not they actually brought all of those numbers to the floor today is a different question, but should have that. If they had that, they can take decisions. Remember, even the first part, which is the 92 you need for quorum, they can do government business. Sorry, they can do business in Parliament. Doing business doesn't mean you're taking decision. So Parliament could have gone ahead today.
Yeah, and he said they could conduct business, but they couldn't take decisions.
No, of course, so that's my point. It's not every day that you take decisions. You can go through. You can go
but
through.
the purpose of conducting business is to take decisions.
They do the debates and leave the decision making subsequently. So I mean, that's something Parliament does.
So you can.
So they can take.
You can actually go ahead
decisions
and do parliamentary business today because you have a quorum. And in fact, even if you don't have a quorum, somebody must raise that. Somebody must. There are times that they don't have a quorum and they proceed and do business because nobody raised it.
Presumption of
or even
regularity.
Sometimes the Speaker ignores those who are about to raise quorum issues.
Yes. So there's presumption of regularity unless you raise it. So they could have gone ahead. But he chooses not to. And so for me, there's a suggestion there. Definitely he's toned down the stance. And we made the point before that he's been consistent, very hard line on when the courts attempt, in his view, to interfere in the official workings of Parliament. He's been consistent. Today, he's toned down because he could have taken the hard line stance. And he could have found clauses in the Constitution to back him and gone ahead. Because, as we know, and again, he didn't even mention the point about asking his lawyers to file the process in the Supreme Court. Another gray area. He says Parliament has been adjourned indefinitely. Until when? Yes, indefinitely. There are a few times when Parliament adjourns indefinitely. When the life of Parliament comes to an end, as in the next 2 months before the elections and they will adjourn indefinitely and then they will come back from the recess. Often we don't know when, but everybody knows why. Here, he didn't quite say it's as a result of the Supreme Court. He didn't quite say that.
No, not a direct.
Listen to him again.
He made reference to the public interest in this issue. So we know the issue.
No, wait. It is why the indefinite adjournment. He says because there's confusion around numbers. I believe that's the closest he came to it. But he didn't say that it is because the matter is before the Supreme Court and is being considered. So I'm awaiting the outcome of the Supreme Court decision to recall Parliament.
But Evans, so let's say, so you actually raised a point earlier. And I had also said that the Speaker didn't tell us the numbers. So you had raised the issue that, okay, so if this is the point, and the first gray area is where the Speaker doesn't tell us the number of members present. That in itself is problematic, based on the ruling from Thursday. Because then you don't know whether following the service by the Supreme Court, it is 275 or 271. But let's leave it at that. I think you can reasonably infer
that is because of the Supreme Court.
That the Speaker today, maybe because of his hardline position, has also taken a route that works for him.
Yeah.
And says, let's adjourn.
No, I get the point, but I'm just raising the gray areas that his decision, first of all, his decision is a good one, right?
Is it?
Because obviously,
because when you
both sides.
No, here's the thing. Indefinitely, without concrete reasons, apart from court.
No. It's something. It's allowed.
At least.
No, but indefinitely means that they can be called tomorrow.
That's it.
Not
they can be called tomorrow.
Yes, they can be called anytime.
We'll come back in the studio to have this debate.
But it's a good one, obviously, because it has avoided the chaos that would, and the constitutional crisis that would have happened.
He having to tell us this majority, this minority. I disagree with the Supreme Court. They have done all of. He actually stayed in the hand of everybody. And let the court do their work. If they finish with their work, and I think we will recall Parliament. If I have to file processes and we have to go through the tussle, whichever period it takes, we will do that. If any parliamentarian today wants Parliament to call for urgent business, they know what to do.
Well, today, actually, I'll come to you.
Clever. He's been very clever.
I'll come to you, Winston, because we have to go on a quick breather, and we'll be back in the studio just as we finalize on this conversation. You can share your thoughts with us on all our social media handles. We're Joy News on TV. We'll be back after this break. Thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. We're just giving you updates on what exactly happened in Parliament. The Speaker has adjourned the House indefinitely. And I'm coming back in the studio to just get the final thoughts of Raymond Evans and Winston as we wrap up the conversation. You have 4 minutes each. Winston, I'll start with you.
Well, so I've been told that some members of the minority have told me that they didn't have all their members present, and that explains the reason why the Speaker said they could not do business. That's what they have said to me. But I think that whatever happens, this is it's a clever way of going about things from the Speaker of Parliament. Okay, there's a lot of controversy surrounding which group represents the majority. You have a chance to adjourn and wait for the Supreme Court to deal with a substantive case or matter. You've also filed a process in court which would deal with all of them. Once it is done, Parliament can come back and sit. Having said that, so we're having a conversation, and let me just make the clarification. So we're talking about, I said that when you amend, the President would sign. Parliament can repeal, except that when it comes to taxes, they are normally introduced by the executive. So that in itself incapacitates Parliament a little bit. There's a difficulty there, but in these times, it's always in the eyes of the one who is sitting. So if the one sitting thinks that in his view, that's something that you could go about it, but the convention is that it must come from the executive. You cannot do anything about it. I say, like I said, much ado about nothing. This is where we are.
Evans, I'll come to you. The Speaker agreed with Francis Xavier Sosu that as of Thursday, when the minority, which is the NPP, walked out of the House, their record should reflect that indeed, as at when they walked out, they were the minority in the House. Today, the NDC MPs are seated in the majority seats in Parliament. Is this a subtle way of the Speaker actually telling us that his initial order still stands? I
think so, but that's an interesting question, because if you also look at the fact that he goes by, he adjourns indefinitely, and the only real clear reason he gives is, of course, national interest, but also confusion around, you know, the parliamentary numbers. But then he adjourns it indefinitely, because as I said, if he had vacated those 4 seats, then they should have enough people to take the business. On this one, though, when he walked into the Parliament, he didn't object to the seating arrangement. He definitely knows that the NDC side sat on his right. And I was making a point to Winston that on any other day before his ruling last week, if he had walked in and the majority side and the NDC side were on his right, he would have questioned it. And so for the fact that he allowed it to go may suggest that, of course, that is the case. And again, he didn't comment on whether or not he's had his lawyers file this case at the Supreme Court, but if they've done so, then the question then becomes, does it stay the earlier stay? You know, I mean, if it stays the earlier stay, I mean, so we are going to now be thrown into this state of confusion again about who is majority and minority. As we speak today, NDC says they are majority. MPP says they are majority. And as journalists, I mean, poor souls. When we talk to them, indeed, we would have to now say, because anytime you say, describe him as majority leader, he will say, no, I'm not minority leader. So I guess now we have to use in the minority.
We have to use MPP caucus or NDC
caucus or whatever it is.
Or probably.
But bottom line, the chaos has been averted. And from everything we've heard, the NDC side is happy. They've told us as much. At the senior leadership of the party, there's consensus that this should go on and it's fine. But is it possible that the resumption, because this is indefinite, the resumption, again, it is the preserve of the Speaker until members of Parliament sign a signature to compel a recall, right? Is it possible that the next time Parliament reconvenes could be after the elections?
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility.
It could also be that Parliament reconvenes next week.
Next week.
But maybe early tomorrow. That's a possibility.
But I'm getting a sense from what I'm hearing that, okay, you started this process, you went to the Supreme Court, okay, it's indefinite. And then Parliament is indefinitely adjourned until after the elections and beyond. Of course, the MPP group, the MPP caucus in the House, can file the process to recall Parliament, to compel them to recall. Yeah, he will recall Parliament because he's obliged to do so. When he comes, all he needs to do is to sit and say that because of the confusion, uncertainty, I am adjourning indefinitely.
Yeah.
And it is within his power. You can recall him as many times as you want. He can come and say. So, and again, one of the things I've heard is, even if the Supreme Court decides this next week, somebody will file for a review of the decision. The Supreme Court will have to go through the process of reconstituting the panel and hearing it. That delays it. You only have 40 days to go. And this is not, if you continue with that process, this is not determined until possibly after the elections. Speaker refers to that consistently adjourning indefinitely. Who suffers is a big question now. Who suffers if that becomes the outcome? It's obvious who suffers because government business will not happen. Government still needs some loans approved. You have before Parliament right now for consideration appointment to the Supreme Court that is still not going to be heard. The 2025 budget is still going to be heard.
Airline
you tagged, they are still on strike because of this whole back and forth about the airline.
Will not be repealed. So we are in for a very interesting next few days.
Next few days would be looking quite interesting. Raymond, I'll come to you. The Speaker acknowledges that indeed he has received the ruling of the Supreme Court. He doesn't say what he is doing, which is the information we received from Kwekwa Asante that his lawyers have been asked to go and file a suit challenging this and urging a stay of execution. How would this play out in court?
In fairness, I think the Speaker left out so many gray areas in the speech. It was not a very complete one. First and foremost, Winston had indicated earlier, tell us, currently there are 125 of you present. There are also, your colleagues say they are not even present. In fact, they didn't walk out. They didn't even come to start the day.
Yeah.
They were not even present in the first place. They went to sit with the Speaker, had tete-a-tete and said, no, unless you compel, as we are being told. That's the factual element of what is being put out there. Secondly, Speaker starts that I've received some decision. As to whether the Speaker believes that the decision is impacting his decision, he doesn't say. He moves on to now go and say that there is public interest in the matter. I don't know which of the public was referencing because we have been talking about it too, or some people have met him, but I mean, public interest in the matter, so he doesn't think that they can understand the numbers and all the other things in the house. He didn't say, because I've received a decision and I've asked my people to file, I am asking that we stay every action before we continue with that. He didn't say that. You know, we were expecting that when he came in, two things he could do. First, say, I'm complying with what the Supreme Court has done. So because I'm complying with what the Supreme Court has done, you are minority, you are majority. It stays the way it's supposed to be. The numbers, they have not been removed from the Parliament. So we'll continue it. And I intend challenging that, one side. Secondly, which could have been an option of statement today. It didn't state it that way. Secondly, it could have come to say that we have already filed. I believe the interpretation and the effect of that is that nothing should be done. No conduct of any of the parties here, including myself, should affect the decision in such a way that it negates it, it makes it useless. He didn't also say that. Effectively, all that I heard the Speaker say is that there's confusion in the minds of the people. And confusion that I think can be settled when we all go and sleep on it. And we all go and engage our people. I am unsure exactly what the Speaker is directing by this. So if tomorrow, Winston Amoah has difficulties with Parliament, and some parliamentarians agree with us, and we keep to challenge the decisions in Parliament, will the Speaker equally be suspending meetings because of the massive interest from the public on that? So I found it quite, I don't know, people are, but I've not seen a clear-cut direction from the Speaker on action. That is where my difficulty is. And that is so today, if within the next 2 weeks, this matter that let's say he files, and the court hears that case and dismisses his own, and he wants that decision reviewed, it will take some time too.
Yes.
See, one of the people who's competent in those filings is Chachuka. They can file like 4 different, what they call it, issues before the same court. Now, are we still waiting on all of those to be resolved before we come back to discuss the most important issues that they are supposed to raise?
But I just read questions,
though. I suggest that is possibly an outcome that is very realistic.
No, that's why I found the problem.
What was the problem?
At this point, we have
there is Parliament in its dying few weeks to go. There is work to be done by this same Parliament. My expectation is that regardless of all the differences that they have, they will do work. Because, Evans, if they say a loan of 350 million, which is going to improve our, say, energy sector on the table, why do you think we should not get that? If there are 2 judges, by all indications, what they do is fair complete. They will pass them. Why don't we should not have those?
Okay, we have to go, unfortunately.
Let's see what happens.
We have to leave this.
What happens
now? What happens, the
Maybe
conversation will be happening. We'll be having on PM Express and the Paul's subsequent bulletins when they come in the studio to just bring you different perspectives to what actually happened on the floor today. The Speaker has adjourned the House indefinitely. My name is Faustina Asafo. I've been doing this with Evans Mensah, Winston Amoah, and Raymond Acquah. Have a pleasant day as you enjoy the rest of our programs.